All right, so who wins between Auburn and Oklahoma? We'll tell you. We all agree that it's a toss-up, but we'll tell you who wins in just a moment. Right here on this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Jay, when you look at this Week 5 matchup, September 28th, as the Sooners head to Jordan-Hare Stadium for their first road conference game. I've been waffling back and forth on this all offseason. Sounds like you have as well. In the last week or so, I've gained a lot of confidence. We call it the boog at Auburn. I might be booging a little bit.
A little booging, okay.
I think I'm booging just a hair. But we'll I think Auburn wins this game. And I've been pretty consistent in saying that they weren't. Right now, as we record this, I'm saying Auburn beats Oklahoma on the 28th.
Okay. My confidence is still on the toss-up level. I think Oklahoma has a chance to pull this one out, and it's going to have to be all defense. Mm-hmm. That's probably the one, or if Jackson Arnold decides to lose his mind on the road. But I know that the environment's going to be hostile, so I'm not going to rely on him just because he's, true sophomore, unless he decides to have a Drake May type season, which is kind of what I'm seeing in his trajectory based on his skill set. I just don't want him to be a violent runner and running people over. But I do see him, he has the skill set to do what Drake May did at North Carolina, right? But for us, it's going to be defense. So my question is going to be, what does that Auburn offense look like against our defense? And I lean our direction because of experience. I think that the experience piece is going to be what's going to help us to be able to keep this a very close game. I can totally see this being like 16-13. Easily.
I think it's going to be lower scoring. I'm there with you because the strength of Oklahoma is the same as the strength of Auburn. It's defense and it's experience the same way. I mean, you talked about Oklahoma's experienced linebackers. Auburn's right in that same boat. They've gotten their snaps at other places and they've come to Auburn. And so, I mean, you've got guys that are going to be coming off the bench. Dorian Mausi, who's got 1,000 snaps in his career at Duke, I believe. And then Gote, the most recent addition they brought from Maryland. He's on like 22nd year of college football. He's played a ton of snaps at Maryland. So, I'm with you. Whatever the over-under is for this game, I'm probably taking the under on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Yeah, I think so. Because, I think Auburn's defense is going to get the help of the home field advantage just by the nature of it being the type of game that it's going to be in the conference. And so that's going to hinder a new quarterback, a young quarterback taking his first road start, as well as an offensive line that still probably doesn't have that unity just because it's going to be early on in the year. And so I do think Auburn will get the benefit from that. But the flip side of this, when Auburn's on offense, like they've got a quarterback that's played a ton of snaps, but he's throwing to guys, a lot of these guys who have been on campus for 5 minutes. You have Cam Coleman, who's the freshman phenom. He did go through spring, and every time there's cameras around, somebody catches him doing something just absolutely ridiculous.
Absurd.
Yeah, he's special. There's no question about it. But how often can you get him the football against a talented defense like Oklahoma? Keandre Lambert-Smith, the transfer wide receiver from Penn State, he got here over the summer. He's a late portal addition. He didn't go through spring at Auburn, and so we'll see what happens with that. He kind of messed his ankle up last week. It seems like he's fine, but they are being a little cautious with bringing him back, it seems like. And then Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane, these are other freshman receivers that Auburn really likes, but are they going to be ready by the end of September to play SEC-level football just because they haven't been here that long? So to me, it's going to be interesting to see what all the Auburn offense looks like and who is a part of the Auburn offense, because that's the biggest question of fall camp is, all right, you feel good about the line, the offensive line, you feel good about your running backs, but the guys that they're throwing to, they're all talented. Talent's not the question, but it's who's the coaching staff going to put in the game because they feel like they're ready. That's what it comes down to.
It's all that cohesion and chemistry. That's the one thing that's going to be that that's the thing that jumps out the most when I even think about even us, right? For our line, they have over 1,000 snaps across the board. The bigger question is how much chemistry would they have? And that's really important with offensive lines, right? So as long as they can get Jackson Arnold just enough time, he has chemistry with the receivers. With Nick Anderson, 6'4", 220 wide receiver, he had 10 touchdowns last season, almost 800 yards receiving. And then the phenom, Deion Burks, who was number 50 on Bruce Feldman's freak list, right? I mean, he's 5'9", 5'10"-ish, 190 pounds, but he bench presses 400, squats almost 600. It's kind of absurd, the strength the dude has, but he's going to be the dude that's going to take that slot route, and he's going to be the one that's either going to burn people or he's going to catch it over the middle on a regular basis. And so for Oklahoma, we have some of those young pieces. The running back room, Gavin Sawchuk, of course, he ran for 700 yards last year. He's expecting to go for 1,000, one of the fastest dudes in the country. And then Javante Barnes, who was a freshman phenom, playing against Florida State in the bowl game. Both him and Sawchuk had 100 yards. Injured most of last year. They said he looks even better than what he did his freshman year. So with him healthy, we got our two backs. We've got our wide receiver room. The line and the quarterback, of course, is the question. I know for you all, picking up Jarian Thompson from Texas at safety, I know that him playing against Oklahoma kind of helps a little bit understanding the wide receiver room because it's the exact same guys. Sure. Farouk's still there. Andrew Anthony's going to be back and healthy. So we've got about 6 receivers that'll be returning that's going to be healthy from last year that he'll be able to at least point out things. But I know that secondary is still pretty inexperienced. That's the one thing that helps me on my offensive side is our wide receivers are going to just get there. We just got to make sure Jackson Arnold has just enough time to launch it. But that pickup of Phil Bleedy on the defensive line, we were talking to him as well.
Yeah.
That's a solid experience piece to add to your defensive line that's going to be able to help to give you guys like the experience needed there. Like I said, linebacker room is solid. They're aged. They're good. For us, our defensive line is now our question is if as long as we can get the pressure that we need. The biggest concern I have going against this game against Auburn, Hunter.
Yeah.
That run game. Yeah. Jarquez Hunter is going to be is where I'm at. Okay. We have to prevent you all from running it down the throat, which is the good thing. We've got 6 linebackers that's ready to play. We just got to be able to get downhill and hit. The question is going to be, what do we look like after Tennessee health-wise? Because once you start getting into about that 5th week, that's when you start seeing attrition kick in. Yeah. How do we all look health-wise going into that game? It's going to be a good one, though. I'll tell you that. And I stick to my 16-13, 20-10. I sense under 30 points combined in this game just because it should be a defensive battle.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Jay, how can all the Auburn folks check out all the Oklahoma stuff you got going on?
Yeah, join us over at Locked On Sooners. You know, we're dropping something, of course, daily for you all. Come hang out. We're not, like I said, what you think you heard ain't what you heard. I didn't say Auburn's going to be bad. I said you're on the trajectory needed for a guy like Hugh Freeze, who has SEC experience. So, yeah, come hang out with us. We'll talk more Auburn, especially as the week gets closer. We're excited about that game, and I plan on being in town, so I'm ready to check out the hospitality there in Auburn, Alabama.
Yep. We will welcome you with open arms, my friend. Hey, be sure to check out Locked On Auburn wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channels. We'll see you next time on Locked On Auburn and Locked On Sooners.